If you could say one thing to the entire world, what would it be?
Fuck you.
I never really understood what it meant to be at a crossroads until I found myself there. As a child in this country, everything is so laid out that it can be hard to realise how free you still are, and it's only now, approaching the top of a ramp we've all been helped up for years, that I appreciate how others have felt in this situation. How hard it can be to jump, and how worried you can be about where you land. I'm at that awful yet amazing age. The end is coming and with it the real start. My life, as others will remember it, is about to begin, and yet the future, ironically a topic I seemed clear enough on to talk about just 8 months ago, looks more uncertain now than it ever has. I have 1 year of college left. There's nothing I can do about my grades from this year. My entire academic worth will be determined from 10 hours of work after 10 months of learning. Already things are beginning to seem a little unfair. Beyond this, those grades will determine what happens with my life, where I go to university, if anywhere, and possibly even what I study. These grades are instrumental in my degree, and potentially in my career. For a process that takes anywhere up to 10 years, this small step seems to have actually been quite a massive one. A lot of the work has already been done now. 10 hours of work, from 10 months of learning, dictating 10 years of my life that will heavily influence the rest of my existence. And that's just university. There's acting school to consider, and then there's neither, or there's both. The problem for me and for people my age is widespread. Everything is already happening, but most of us don't really know what to do anyway. I recently visited Oxford University for an open day, which I was at for 2 days, making it more of an open days, but hey ho. It was bizarre living for an evening in one of my favourite places in the world, in a room provided free of charge by the wonderfully kind Magdalen College. Almost everything I experienced in those 2 days was brilliant. It came as no surprise that I returned home wishing even more than before to be there again, and studying something that I love, that being history. Fast forward a week and I was talking to an old friend of mine who has pursued his dream in acting and got somewhere. He stands loosely as an icon to myself, and in that moment he ripped the roof off Magdalen with a pretty average sentence. You've got to really go for it. I'm torn in too many directions, and I know that most of my friends are too. We're always sold these years as our prime, the best years of our life, the years that we'll remember when we're old and grey. We end up being a mix of desperately trying to make the most of these years and appreciate them, whilst worriedly building a future that those same people tell us we should make for ourselves. I'm not ready to let go of the prospect of Oxford, however distant it may be for me. But I will always hold acting highest above everything else. And it strikes me that these two paths can only exist for a little while together. I either take one or I miss them both. Elsewhere, these are the days. They certainly feel like they could be the days I look back on. I'm not perfectly happy by any means, but I still feel that I'm more alive than ever before. I know exactly what I, as a human being, should do. I have to grab these years and live them, do what I can and what I want. But the big bad world will always come for us eventually, and usually holds us back beforehand.
I have no idea where I am.
This is the crossroads. And it isn't even a crossroads really, it's just the road stops. After this we're walking on thin air. Most of the time very thin air. I don't think anyone grows up intending to spend a life scraping an existence, but looking at the world now, comparatively, a large amount of people do. And even more scarily, they accept it. I personally have very few quarrels with the world. I haven't seen it proven that a better alternative exists, but I've been introduced to a view that questions the whole idea. We, that being the youth, the 16 to 25s, the college students, the next generation, the builders of the future, we are cattle born onto a meat farm. We're not denying for a minute that we have freedom, only that this freedom has boundaries, and when one actually takes the time to look and think about it, these boundaries are closer than we thought. It's birth, it's school, it's college, it's possibly a further education, but always ultimately a job, usually under the employment of someone else. Relationships might be built through work, and people may genuinely love their job, but we are always, to a degree, a means to someone else's end. What puzzles me is the point at which this became commonplace, and not just that, but so widely accepted. With all things considered, the revelation that someone doesn't want to commit to boredom for somebody else, or just work by the wider definition, should be completely understandable, but in reality, it's blasphemy. I doubt these views are new. I think they're the same that today's middle-aged had when they were my age, but they're older now, with jobs and families and a settled and orthodox life. We will be too in 30 years. It took a lot of debating and back and forth thinking, but we eventually came to one question. What is the point? Now look at the crossroads. Not only is it not a crossroad but open space, it's also pretty nasty looking when viewed from our temporary position on the outside. It's a scary place, and not a truly, honestly happy one. Our world is a conveyor belt. Nothing more.